Good evening, it's October 5th, already practically Christmas. Welcome to Peterborough Select Board meeting. I'm Tyler Ward. Up at the table with me are fellow Select Board members Bill Taylor and Bill Kennedy. We have Allie Kreutz here taking our minutes, and Town Administrator Nicole McStay will be providing lots of information for us, always. Tonight's agenda will give an update on following our public hearing to overspend our budget, and then an update on the statistical revaluation process that we were discussing at the last meeting. We have some minutes from September 7th and September 21st to, I guess, vote on and approve. And then when we close the meeting, we'll enter into it, well, at the end of the meeting, we'll enter into a non-public session pursuant to RSA 91-A:3, Roman numeral 2, parentheses E and parentheses I. L.
Yes.
Consideration of legal advice. And this is a little out of the ordinary, but since we have such a great crowd, it's my niece's birthday today, and so I may not get a chance to call her, so I'd like to sing happy birthday to my niece Emerson. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Emerson. Happy birthday to you. And they danced around the table.
She'll be able to enjoy that for the rest of her life because this will be logged in the
Recorded
archive.
for posterity.
She's 9 years old.
Oh, 9 years old.
Yeah.
Good year.
Okay, thank you for that.
It's debatable whether she's embarrassed or excited.
I'll find out.
Yeah, she's watching, yeah.
I'm sure she's
Okay. First up, so we, at our last meeting, the board voted to overspend the budget to make up for the shortfall using the fund balance.
Yes, and that request to overspend the budget was submitted to the Department of Revenue Administration, and the Director of the Department of Revenue Administration, James Gary, has sent you this nice letter informing the Select Board that your request has been received and approved. So the request to expend $1,753,479 out of the unassigned fund balance is all set. So if we do need it by the end of the fiscal year, that money will be available to draw on, and we will be able to overspend the budget without incurring any unforeseen, unexpected consequences.
And that's a big if, capital letters.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep.
Because we discussed options for how we'll work towards,
Yes.
using the minimal amount of that.
Exactly.
Where
Yep.
we're going forward with that. Okay, I don't know if that needs any further discussion.
No, pretty straightforward.
Just reiteration that we don't have to spend that money unless we have.
Exactly. Yep.
Doesn't mean we will.
And that's what that fund balance is for, an emergency, a catastrophic emergency such as
Precisely.
what we just went
Precisely.
And we added quite a bit to that over the last 2 years.
Right.
About that amount.
Yes, through a combination of not spending what was budgeted, closing a bunch of open purchase orders, encumbrances, and of course, taking in a little bit more revenue than we expected.
Right, and then the other part of that was the school payment was one of the issues, and we did receive the letter from the school board.
From the school board, yes.
Right.
So Timothy Thurridge, the chairperson of the Kowal School District School Board, also wrote to the town saying that your request to modify the payment plan has been approved on a short-term basis. So what we're doing now is sending the school district $125,000 in addition to the regular monthly payment, including this month all the way through December. And then once the tax bills have gone out and collected, every year the school district reassesses every town's payment anyways, and so we'll reassess at that time, and hopefully be in a position to make Conville whole. I can't see any reason why we wouldn't be.
That was nice. It was good for them to work with us.
Incredibly helpful for them to give us that flexibility.
Great. Any questions regarding that particular item? Okay. Next up, our statistical revaluation process.
Yep, so statistical reevaluation, Mary Beth was just in the office today. They're more or less at the end of the process. They're going through essentially quality control checks. Just going through validating the mass update. And of course, this is the part where Ally's going to jump in and provide you better information than I can give you. But essentially, she's at a place where she needs a little bit more time, so she's going to request an extension to the MS1, and hopefully, I mean, the extension will put us through to the end of October, but she says more than likely she's going to get it done before then. There's just a little bit of complication. One of it's just the way that the assessing database is set up to convert all of those values into the MS1 form that gets sent out to DRA. It is something that Leo always handled. And so Ally and Mary Beth are essentially trying to reconstruct that process, how to convert that data into the format that then feeds into the MS1 and it can be transmitted. So it's just taking a little bit longer than we had hoped, but it's going to get done very soon. But very near the end of that process.
Yeah, and she did do a bit of a deep dive with me to explain how we come to those values so that when taxpayers call with questions, which is very understandable and expected, I'll have some good information to give them. But yeah, I think the average increase was at 33% for single-family homes.
Yep.
Yeah. Condos will see an average increase of 24%, and commercial properties will have an average increase of 11%. But again, I've said it before, and I will say it again, people should wait until we get the tax rate. If they get a new value and they multiply it by the current tax rate, they're not going to have an accurate idea of what their tax bill is going to be. So the values are part one, part two will be getting the tax rate from the state.
Right, that's a great point to bring up.
Yep.
Because as soon as I would hear that, I'd run the crap out of my file. What is that?
Yep.
Sure. Okay, and then also I see a highlighted line in her statement. Please keep in mind that this is not a linear percentage. Within each type of property, some values will have decreased and some could have more than doubled in value. And that's, I see 144 sales in the year July 1, 2020 through July 31st, 2021. Is that usually what Peterborough sells, 144, or is it more around like?
No, I think that's a little higher.
Yeah.
It's a little higher. When I've gone back and looked at previous years, I found it interesting that there wasn't too much variation over the last 4 years, I think. The difference is that there's more buyers. So the number of properties that are selling each year is about the same, but there's been a huge influx of people wanting to buy those properties, which is why the prices are what they are.
It's a good town to live in.
It is.
Says it right on the sign.
Any other questions? So we'll hear more about that going forward. All right.
Other business?
And then you did have some other business to add, which I forgot to mention in the opening of the meeting regarding Southfield Village up near what used to be EMS.
Past EMS, so Southfield Lane is off of Route 202, so if you're going north out of downtown Peterborough, Kowal is on your left. If you go a bit past that is Southfield Lane. Going out Southfield Lane, the road splits, and then if you go up to the right, you'll go up the hill a little bit. There's a condominium development on the left-hand side. Those condos have been built out in many stages over many years. The town of Peterborough, unfortunately, took the development rights or the approvals to build 60 units up there for taxes many years ago at this point. And we've been holding them for a long time, waiting for buyers to be interested. In this market, of course, buyers are interested, and the town has received 2 proposals to purchase those development rights from the town of Peterborough. One of them comes from Form Up Foundations. They're out of Rindge. They're looking to develop higher-end rentals in town of Peterborough, and so they have made a proposal of $150,000 for those rights. And of course, there's a lot more to the submissions. And then the second one comes from Phil Mathewson Properties. They're the ones currently developing condos up there right now. And they're just about done. Their proposal's for $200,000. They'll be looking to construct more condos. So there's a bit more to each of these. That's just the very top level view of them. The select board has received those. My suggestion is that you take the next couple weeks to review the proposals. If there are any questions that you might have, I can send those off to the two prospective buyers to get those answered. And then come back and decide what you would like, how you would like to pursue the process. Would you like to come together, make a recommendation for who you'd like to go with now, or would you like to go through the 4114A process first, get the input from the planning board and the conservation commission before making a decision?
What's
And
the,
hold public hearings.
what's the possibility of receiving more proposals additionally?
Unlikely. This has been on the market for a very long time now. These are the only proposals that we've received, and I think it's been on the market for 7 years, 8 years, or maybe longer. So I think it was really just a matter of the right timing. Obviously, the condos up there are selling very well. Rentals are doing very well in the area. So for both markets, these proposals would really, make sense.
Who's been paying the taxes on that land up there?
Nobody.
Nobody.
Well, actually, it's not quite correct. So the land is owned by the condominium association. The association does pay its taxes. But on these development rights, nobody's been paying taxes because the town owns those development rights. So where they were taxable in the past, they are no longer. So this will be, it's either way the board decides to go, it's a great opportunity to get some of these things finally built, back on the tax rolls, where people living in them the way they should be.
Okay, about a year ago, or maybe more, we heard a proposal of someone wanting to put some affordable rentals up in there. And
That's the Form Up Foundation's proposal.
It is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so they've resubmitted.
Resubmitted, but with high end.
Well,
Because that was, the board of the condos didn't want the affordable.
They're calling them higher end rentals. They would still be rentals. The rental that he's projecting would be in the $1,400 to $1,500 a month range of rentals.
And that's for
$150,000 purchase.
And the other ones for 200.
$200 for condos.
and Southfield Village would still have
Well,
a
that
say
was-
over it,
that
because
was
it's
my
their
question.
land.
Right, that was my question.
Either way, yes.
So it goes to their board.
Right, so it does need to, this still will need to go through the condominium association. I'm not sure what ultimately will end up happening, if they'll, in either proposal, whether they would still be part of the same condominium association, if they would separate off and have two associations. There's a lot of things that are up in the air and could be considered and have been talked about in the past. But that's really going to be up to whomever purchases it and the association to negotiate. The town would not be involved at that point.
Caroline?
Yeah, so that was one of the questions is, does the town have any say really in what does go in there? And it sounds like it doesn't. It's the cooperative association that does.
They have more say, yes. I mean, the selectmen have a say insofar as they can choose which of these offers they
Right.
wish to accept.
Right. But then the ultimate decision sounds like the people that own the land.
Well, they have some say, and of course, the owners of the property, the developable rights will have say about what they construct.
And are there any other properties like that in town, or is that the only one
That the town currently owns.
that has the rights, that there's no taxes being paid on it?
So anytime the town owns property, the town doesn't pay taxes on it.
So there is a lot of town-owned property that's tax, people haven't, it's tax deeded.
There's not a lot right now. There is some property. A lot of it has been over the years converted mostly into conservation land. A lot of the times what the town inherits as a tax deed is unbuildable property. And so which also, if it's unbuildable, it tends to be because it has high conservation value, so it's gonna be wetlands, things along those lines, or very landlocked, with other large, land properties, blocking it in, so it's a bit of a mix.
Yeah.
This is different though, because this is just development rights, this isn't
That's what I was
actual,
saying,
this
yeah.
isn't any actual tangible
Right,
piece of
right.
crap.
But this is the only example of the rights.
Yeah,
Yes,
Okay.
thankfully.
Yes.
Because it's incredibly complicated. It's one of the reasons why the town's owned it so long is
Mhm.
because we're not selling a piece of land that's, that you can just build into anything. It's not greenfield, as it were. There's a lot of encumbrances on it.
Sure.
And it's not straightforward in any sense.
It would be nice to get those back on the tax rolls. that's for sure.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely.
What's your sense? Do we need more rentals or more houses still?
I think we need, well, I mean, we definitely need more rentals.
Yeah.
And I mean, at $1,500 a month, I don't know how much that helps for the people that actually need it right now.
That's the point.
I mean, I suppose some people that are on the, that are comfortable in their $1,200 units could move into the $1,500 and then the holes can be filled up from the bottom. But I don't think those conversations went all that well about putting apartments in there when we had this proposal a year or so ago. One thing we do know is that Phil can work with them. I mean, we could take a proposal and they can fight about it forever, but, nobody's gonna sign that contract without approvals to build what they want, right? Are they both contingent on getting approvals to build what they wanna build?
I haven't looked too deeply into them. I just received the second one today, so.
Well, I'm sure that they are,
Yeah.
so we can accept one and not have it work out, or
Right.
accept one and be done with it.
Good, Carol.
Just going to your question of what do we need, I don't know if you just said need or want, but if you look at the most recent survey that Danica did from the Master Plan Steering Committee, it's rentals as far as I know,
Yeah.
based on the research that was just recently done. I don't see that changing anytime soon.
No, it's not gonna. And it's affordable rentals, and I'm not sure that, 14, 15 checks the box for a lot of the people that actually need them.
And I mean, it is concerning that and I wasn't here, I don't remember your discussion with the group up there that didn't want the rentals, because affordable has a bad connotation, but I believe Danica has, from this survey, people from So Clean, people from Rivermead, people from the hospital, there are people in our community. It's not some people that are just, floating over the border from Massachusetts. It's people that we see every single day that need this housing.
Mhm.
So the whole affordable stigma is false, in my opinion.
Well, there's a lot more that would live closer and take jobs around here if they didn't have to drive from Manchester or Nashua. That's the real deal. People want to live here, but they can't, because there's nothing around.
So I guess I'm suggesting if you can refer to that data in response to the two proposals.
Yeah, that's a good one, good idea.
Yeah.
I think
It's
one-
not us that has to be convinced, that's the
I know.
problem.
Right.
We already know that we need more rentals.
One of the complications, again, is that these plans have already gone through the planning board, they've already received all their approvals, they're already part of a condominium association. So to untangle all that and build something entirely different as being proposed as a rental, property, does add a layer of complexity to it, which is what, they were alluding to.
I see.
You have, the two offers, are, they're close enough to each other.
Right.
They're relatively equivalent. So it is really a matter of, do you go with what is, essentially tried and true and ready to go up there? Do you go with something that is perhaps more desirable, but maybe more complicated and could very well not end up moving forward? So it's complicated, and I think those are the two issues the board's going to have to weigh out, think about for the next couple of weeks. And like I said,
Well,
come back.
we gotta read them.
Yep,
Right, yeah, I haven't read them.
read through them, take some time, whatever questions you might have, send them back to me, I'll forward them along to get some answers. And then, you know, make a decision on the 19th about how you might like to proceed.
Okay,
Sorry.
go ahead.
We have a new subcommittee under the EDA that's addressing housing. It's been a committee that's been running for a while, that they've now become legitimate, you might say. I wonder if we should be consulting with them, or they should get involved in this process as well.
Well, they're not statutorily required to be involved in the 4114A
Right.
process. I mean, certainly, just like any other member of the public, you know, they would have a right to, you know, to voice their opinion. The only committees that are required to be involved in this process are the Conservation Commission, the Planning Board, and the Select Board, of course.
Right. But I wouldn't mind some input from that group. So what I'm going to do is go notify them
Yeah.
that these proposals are here, and we can move forward with them.
Are there any conditions to the rental proposal that if it doesn't go through, what happens? And the second part to that is there an escalation of rent condition in there? Can they keep going up? And I've seen that happen, not under this circumstance, but. So those are just two questions.
Those were not included in the proposal I have in front of me.
Mhm.
Are they potentially things that could come out of the negotiation? Hypothetically, I don't know.
So there's no time limit on getting it done.
Well, I mean, if you're a buyer in this real estate market, you're not wanting to hear people say, we'll get back to you in a couple of months.
Right.
Because they can just as easily move on to another project.
Right, but if it's rejected by the community there,
Yep.
then you have another, you don't have a decision to make. What would they do? What could happen?
I don't know. Yeah, I truly don't know.
Do those proposals have it, do they say this is good for the next 60 days or 90 days? or-
One of them has a time limit on it, yes. 45 days from execution of the purchase and sales.
45 days till,
Offer is contingent, I'm sorry, let me just read the whole thing. So offer is contingent upon full project approvals from the town and the state. The offer is contingent upon the Southfield Condominium Association breaking off into 2 independent condominium associations. Seller to allow the buyer a 45-day due diligence period from the time of fully executed contract to examine the following: inspection of current water sewer lines in place, inspection of land and any current infrastructure, and the right to conduct additional test pits. So, that is what is currently included. But again, not executed.
so no, that doesn't say I have a time limit for when we can accept it.
Right.
So getting back to the town owning the building rights
Yes.
that were approved, and the condominium association owning the land, right? When whichever contractor gets this project, then can sell the houses on those land, on that land? Or does the parcel then become part of that house property? So if it's selling for, say, $250,000, is that just building? Or is it a land lease? What is that?
So-
Building, in a condo association, you're buying,
Oh, it's a condo association.
Yes.
it's an association, so everything outside is owned by the condo association, which you're part owner of as an owner of a condo.
Now, but even your roof, if they're connected.
Depends on how they set it
Depends
up.
on how it's set
Up there so far, all the exterior is covered in your association.
Gotcha.
So you just own the interior
Decks.
walls.
Okay. right.
Deck siding.
Yes, based on the condo.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. So in essence, condo association, all those homes that are up there have been paying the taxes on that land.
Yes, they have, yeah.
Got it.
But not on the development rights, which do have a value in and of themselves.
Gotcha. And then, when those, the rights were deeded by the town, what was their value at that time?
So this, again, is very complicated. I'm not even sure if you were on the board at the time. This happened a long time ago. This was, the condo rights were owned by a developer who was all tied into the FRM mortgage, scheme, scandal, whatever you want to call it. He had hyperinflated the value of the rights through the assessing, process through some fake transfers and whatnot, so that he could leverage and leverage again and leverage again some more. He got them up into over $1 million. Is certainly not worth over $1 million. But based on that, he owned over $500,000 in property taxes over 4.5 years, I think, or 5 years, I can't remember, before the town was finally, it all got caught up in the bankruptcy of the mortgage company, so it got dragged out for a very long time. Finally, the town just took it, and so what are they actually worth? Something between $150,000 and $200,000.
Whatever. So.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, any other good questions? All right, so we'll think about this, and I'm sure we'll all have more questions. Maybe if someone's watching, please email the town administrator or Peterborough, or, yeah, we'll get those answers to you. Great, thanks for bringing that to us. And next up, has anybody read these minutes from the 7th and the 21st?
Close.
We have a motion to approve them?
So moved.
Second with one edit, okay, and all those in favor? Aye. Great. And that's it for our public meeting,
You missed the biggest news of the day.
which we can recap because it was pretty quick.
The mini mall is open now.
Yes.
I did catch that in
Wednesday afternoons and Saturdays.
Yes.
the
Yeah.
We'll take
Facebook
it.
Peterborough page is gonna be alive tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
It was in the dispatch this afternoon.
I didn't get a chance to read that. Great.
I do have one thing to bring to the board. I attended the Select Board Advisory Committee to the school board, and Kim Saunders did a wonderful presentation on the impact of these freedom accounts on the school system and taxes overall. And she's offered to do a similar presentation to the board here at some time in the future.
I would appreciate that.
Okay.
So I don't know how
Sure.
to go about formal
Yeah, we'll be in
invitations, but
touch.
we'll try to put it on the agenda at some point.
Freedom vouchers, is that what you said?
Sorry?
Did you say freedom vouchers?
Yeah, what they
I
call
forget, yeah, it's something like that, it's freedom of education or something like that, it's freedom of choice, I don't, yeah, something along those lines.
In any case, in addition to that, I did bring up a question regarding consolidation of school buildings and things. And Kim, how do you say his last name? Eldredge?
Something like that.
The Verge?
I always stumble over it.
The Verge. He's a brilliant guy, I really appreciate him. He mentioned that the board is leaning in that direction, but probably nothing's going to happen until at the earliest next summer. So we're not going to see any relief in that regard in the near future.
All right. Fair enough. At this point, I'd make a motion to go into non-public session pursuant to RSA 91-A. Thanks for joining us,
Yep.
everyone.
Yep.
91A:3, Roman numeral 2, parentheses E and L, consideration of legal advice. You got the gentleman's name?
That's
Oh,
all.
That was Al, yeah. I recognized him from last time.
Okay.
Thank you.
He's on
Second.
he's on our budget committee.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I thought I recognized his eyes. But
Oh.
okay. All right.